Hello, greetings. Welcome to week 10. As we move on through this exploration of spiritual formation and discipleship, I hope you're finding this to be a helpful conversation, helpful process with a variety of ways to think about what it means in your own life personally, in your life with others, in your leadership life. In this video, I want to take a few minutes to talk about the focus for this week and share a couple of reminders about where we are and what you should be doing. First, let me talk about the reminders. I hope you're all engaged with a spiritual practice. I hope you've made that choice and have been engaged with that on a regular basis, because that's the nature of a practice, is that it is practiced. And I hope you are taking the time that you have set aside the opportunity on a regular, consistent basis to engage that practice, and that you're taking time as you engage in that practice, especially afterwards, to reflect upon how it is impacting your life, your thinking, your self. I'm looking forward to hearing about your experience with this practice. Second, a reminder about your Life Together group, small group work. We are a few weeks into that. You should be meeting somehow on a regular basis with at least one other person to talk through what you're learning from that important, vital little book, Life Together by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And I am eagerly anticipating your report and your reflections that are due in a few weeks. Now on to the week before us, the immediate week before us. The focus of this week, and really the focus of the whole class, is an invitation to congruence. I hope you know that word. If you don't, you should look it up. But I think by the time I'm through with this brief intro, you'll have a pretty good grasp of it. The idea of congruence is central to spiritual formation and discipleship in nearly all respects. Congruence is a good, if not the good, that is at the heart of spiritual formation. You've all heard the expression, practice what you preach, or put your money where your mouth is. And years ago, Francis Schaeffer wrote a book titled How Then Shall We Live?, which is a formational question. While much of Schaeffer's work makes me a little uncomfortable, that question, that title of that book as a question, stuck with me, and I've lived with it ever since. In an earlier video, you may remember I talked about the importance of the question, so what? Well, that's a congruence question also. Eugene Peterson once said, and I paraphrase, if there's a single word that identifies the faithful life, the godly life, the life devoted to Jesus, the way of discipleship, it is congruence. Congruence between ends and means. Congruence between what we do and what we say, who we are, and what we believe. Some would even argue that this is a central teaching of Jesus. Listen to Mark 12, beginning at verse 38 from Peterson's The Message. Jesus continued teaching his disciples. He said, watch out for religion scholars. That one comes a little close to home. They love to walk around in academic gowns, preening in the radiance of public flattery, basking in prominent positions, sitting at the head of the table at every church function, being first in line. I added that. And all the time they are exploiting the weak and the helpless. The longer their prayers, the worse they get. But then he says, they'll pay for it in the end. Jesus was not above a threat. Then in another place, same chapter, verses 41 through 44, sitting across from the offering box, he was observing how the crowd tossed money in for the collection. Many of the rich were making large contributions. One poor widow came up and put in 2 small coins, a measly 2 cents, Peterson paraphrases. Jesus called his disciples over and said, "The truth is, this poor widow gave more to the collection than all the others put together. All the others gave what they'll never miss. She gave extravagantly what she couldn't afford. She gave her all." Palmer says on page 37 of Let Your Life Speak about his own journey, "I wanted more than a job," he writes. "I wanted deeper congruence between my inner and outer life." When we speak of intentional formation, this is what we are speaking of. Jesus, and I think really basic human, emotional, and spiritual health means a real, demonstrable relationship between our values, what we say we value, what we say we believe, the way we practice our religion, our work, our career, our jobs, our calling, our politics, a particularly important idea in this particular time, and our relationships, a congruence among all of those things. Remember, St. Francis said, "Preach the gospel at all times and use words if necessary." There are 2 basic assumptions this week. There are 2 basic assignments this week. One is continuing to read Let Your Life Speak. You're now engaged with chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3, when way closes, kind of a dark night, a time when we're not sure about where we should be, what we should be doing, what kind of work God is calling us to. And chapter 4, all the way down, in which Parker Palmer deals with his own struggles with serious clinical depression and his emergence from that. Read those chapters, respond to the prompts in your journal, and talk among yourselves about what you think about what he says. The second assignment is titled For Friends. Now, this is not a required or graded activity, but it is designed to be a helpful activity which might result in some bonus points if you complete it. But it may be, I think it will be helpful for you to assess your own relationships and to think about those persons in your own life and how they may help or hurt you, how they may hinder you or support you. The need, in other words, to have friends who can in fact help you find greater and greater clarity in your intentional formation, that is, achieving a clearer and more practiced congruence. It's called For Friends, and it says each of us needs to have 4 kinds of friendships in our life. And in turn, we all need to be a certain kind of friend to others. Just a little bit more about that. We are not designed to go it alone. No one is. We are, I believe, created by God to be relational beings. Relational beings. Remember Genesis. Of all the goods God pronounces at his creative work, the one not good was the man alone. It is not good, God says, that man should be alone. I will make him a helper as a partner. That's Genesis 2:18. I'm going to have to make a little adjustment here on my screen because for some reason I can't get to the rest of my notes. Okay, here we go. Relationships that are keen, loyal, and honest are needed companions on the journey to emotional and spiritual health and maintaining our emotional and spiritual health. Palmer talks of his experience with a clearing committee. This is where the idea of way opening and way closing comes in. My own personal experience during a very dark time in my life with a spiritual director that was life-saving and deeply aided my growth in the direction of congruence, bringing me to leave a position that was draining me in dangerous and soul-sucking kinds of ways to find new work and consequently greater health because the work was more congruent with my whole sense of who I am. As you read, reflect, and assess during this week, keep these questions in mind, these 3 questions in mind. Who is it in my life that is helping me to achieve congruence? Who might be hindering me from achieving congruence? Who can help me find clarity and congruence? Continued blessings on the journey. I look forward to our conversations over the next week. God bless you, praying for you, eager to see the outcome of your work.